Well, good evening, folks. Trust you're well. If not, get better soon. I hope. Um, it's always been an age-old question, I suppose, by many people, including myself. Um, is there a God? I know. I've been doing a lot about God and creators lately, but I'll make my point in this, and you'll see why I'm saying it. Whether you believe in God or not, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what your atheistic affiliation maybe or whatever. It really doesn't, because this isn't about God and creation and all that sort of stuff. It's a point of debate and discussion. But as a child born into a Christian society, I only have this perspective of it, of my surrounding world. I mean, we all live in our little goldfish bowls, don't we? And I was born into this one. If I was being born in Iraq, I'd be thinking differently. I'd be speaking differently, yada yada yada. But no, I'm not. I'm a little Englander, and I was born in England, in Yorkshire. And it doesn't take long when you go to school. And I went to, get this, the Church of England school. And I can remember that there was, out of the schools I went to, there was, well, to be frank, I can't remember if there were any black children there or not. I don't think so, to be honest with you. It wasn't a very big school. It was my first school. And I was too busy rubbing the tears out of my eyes after having been ripped away from my mother. And kept on looking out the window, wondering if she'd made a mistake by leaving me there. I didn't really believe that she could be so cruel. And well, there you have it. And suddenly I was surrounded by snivelling brats, the same as me. And we all had to hold hands and walk along into the classroom, and we were, placated and sat around. I'll never forget this, and I'm 57, I'm 58 this year. I'll never forget it. I can remember like it was yesterday. Isn't that amazing? It's certain things you don't forget in life, and it is the first day at school. And I was 5 years old. Think about that, 5 years old. I remember the smell, and it smelt of a mixture of recently thrown up breakfasts and pine disinfectant sawdust that was thrown over it by the caretaker, whose name was, I won't forget his name either, called Mr. Grice. We used to call him Gricey when we got a bit cocky and settled in. Mr. Grice. And I can see his face in my mind's eye now. And he was a nice old chap, well into his retirement age really. He was a part-time caretaker of this school. And we went into the classroom, and I could smell this pine wafting everywhere. And all around there was children's art that they'd made and painted. And the tables were hexagonal wooden tables with seats around them. I think it could have been octagonal, 8 to a table anyway, eight children around each table. It was quite a small classroom because there was probably less than 30 people in there. And the teacher, who I cannot remember. I do remember her being a rather frumpy female, but very nice, very sweet. And I spent, my formative years in there. But strangely enough, around the walls were pictures of planets and a globe in the corner, this big globe. And there's lots of little ones as well. And I remember we were all doing science, yes, 5. No more colouring in for us. It wasn't. It was reading, writing and arithmetic from age 5. I kid you not. And yes, the alphabet, and 1 to 10, and very easy maths. And I was like a duck to the water with that. But I did look around me, and I noticed that a lot of the kids hadn't settled in, and they wouldn't settle in, and they're crying all the time. And by the end of the month, though, everything's settled down. It's rather strange how quickly you get used to things, because it becomes a routine. And the point I'm trying to make there is how quickly we get used to routines when they're thrust upon us. Needs must as the devil drives, don't they say that? And there was assembly, and we had to say prayers, believe it or not, before we had our lunch. And yeah, very much for what we're about to receive. May the Lord God make us truly thankful. Amen. We just said it verbatim. Didn't take long to learn that one, did it, or have it thrust upon us? Well, it was a Christian school. And yes, we used to sing in assembly, all things bright and beautiful. You know that you know the picture I'm trying to paint. It was a lovely village school, and this is the England I remember fondly. And it got progressively worse from that point for me, as I grew older and more cynical, and and it was a mixed school. There's boys and girls. And it wasn't long, really, before we started to get this stuff called homework. Yes, only minor homework by the grand scale, but it's still an obligation. When you get home, they won't let you switch off. They can't let you go and play, even at 6 and 7, for example. The first year is pretty mild, but this theme of Jesus. Yes, our school play at Christmas. Well, you can guess the nativity plays. You can guess. And it was look into my eyes, not these eyes, over here, these eyes. We had vicars turn up to read to us as well, the stories from the Bible. A very Christian school. Neither of my parents are particularly religious, or weren't, and still aren't. One has died, and the other one doesn't know what day of the week it is, and she's on very thin ice, bless her. So my mother now suffers from dementia, and is clinging on for some amazing reason. But the lights are on, but no one home. She doesn't know who I am, sadly. But it begs the question, perhaps she does. She just can't express it. She gently smiles when she sees practically anybody, quite honestly. Well, the cynic in me, you see, would say, well, do I believe in God? Or I think you know me by now, hopefully. To say, well, I don't know. God represents all things good. He can do miracles. He can walk on water. I say he, as it's an individual. God's representative can walk on water and do miracles, and put his hands on the sick and they get healed, put his fingers on the blind and they can see, plague victims get cured instantly upon his touch, etc. Anything, well, that's just bloody marvellous. You've cured one person who's blind. You've cured one person who's suffering from a debilitating bacterial or viral infection and is crippled for life, and you've cured them. Well done, you. But what about the other 6 million that are on the earth? You see, you just take a look at what you could have had. Yeah, what is it then? It's just showing off. Look, if you're going to cure something on this world, the flat one, cure it all. If you're capable of doing one thing, you're surely capable of doing a miracle throughout the world, aren't you? Just snap your fingers. Oh no, it has to be hands-on, does it? Is that right? Just to show off. Yeah, there's people starving in the world. And he's always carrying 2 fish around, allegedly. Feeding the poor. Oh, thanks for the fish. Yeah, what about the other 750,000 people that are starving? Just keep passing out the fish, but no, he just feeds a couple of people just to show off what he can do, how nice and generous he is. Yes, after all, he made the fish. He created the earth, did he not? But I still adhere to my original thoughts about this. If Jesus, or oh, what a friend we have in Jesus, or God's representative, our Creator's representative, why is there such violence, death, destruction, disease, people in a state of penury, people sleeping and starving in the streets, dying, and such wars? Well, we know by now, don't we, that we've been deserted. We truly have been deserted. And this world, whether it's flat or round, and the people upon it, have been left to fend for ourselves in what is considered a free society. Not. We're in this Death Race 2000 existence under a pleasure dome or murder dome, which is a dome over us called the firmament, where we all have to rely on ourselves for survival. There isn't going to be someone coming down and touching our eyes if we can't breathe, curing our deafness, touching us to get rid of our acne, etc. Is the time to have a reality check. We've got what we've got, we is what we is. That's about the sum of it. And you'll make of it what you can. And it's everybody, quite literally, it seems, for themselves. Never mind men, women and children. Never mind women and children, lifeboats. It's sod that. I'm getting the lifeboat for me and mine. It's such a selfish world, isn't it? And yet at schools, even now, they're still harping on about Jesus, or the nice things that we're supposed to do for one another, and yada yada yada. But you see, the people lie, and as children, we're slapped on the legs for lying. We're told it's a bad thing. Yet look up for the examples of what is done to us from the governments of the world. You can tell when politicians are lying because their lips move. Never mind teenagers. Teenagers often grow out of it. Politicians just get better at it. They could tell us to go to hell in such a way we look forward to the trip. Yes, and they can cut your throat and convince you look good in red. Just vote for me. And we do. We vote for these bastards. Well, I don't vote. I voted once in my life. My whole life I voted once, and that was for Brexit. Because that is our only hope in the United Kingdom in order to survive what is planned for the rest. And you wait, Henry Higgins, as I said before, there will be a world war. And it'll be Europe and the 1%ers against Britain and America. I've said this time and time again. We will be out in the cold. Well, that's the state of play. So, religion is destined, as it says. It's just another form of mind control. That's all. It's exactly like that film, They Live. When everybody's walking around without their glasses on, and they're seeing, consume, buy this, buy that, you'll look fantastic. This, and then you put your glasses on, don't you? And it says obey, comply, consume, yada yada yada. You take your glasses off. They're just pictures. advertising. But then when you put your glasses back on, you can see. You must go and watch this film called They Live. I've had it for years. And it's got one of the longest fight scenes between two men in any film in history. It's a phenomenal film. Please watch it. So, I'm fed up of taking the bullshit. I truly am. But there's a group of people, folks, on our world that continue to believe the propaganda and the bullshit. And they're called millennials. Now, no disrespect, but I understand millennials are children or adults now, but they were born at the turn of the century. So, these are the millennials. One thing I will say about the millennials is they are, for the most part, very tech savvy because they've been brought up on it. Okay? And the other, in their defense, I would say that they don't know how good it was before we had computers. And I know it's an old thing that Grandad said, in my day we had it rough. And in my day we had it rough compared to what they got now. And in your day, surely. But I do have a great deal of sympathy for millennials. Because despite all the gadgets and the high tech and the instant gratification that's going on and the satiation and their sexual desires, and it's all worldwide communication, scant regard is paid to those less fortunate than ourselves. Because those people who are interacting with computers and mobile phones on a regular basis are interacting with people who can equally afford computers, mobile phones, internet connections, etc. But what about the people who can't? What about those folks that are standing in the street, maybe in deepest Africa or Syria, where there's been bombed to oblivion by our maniacs, which was once a lovely, lovely, lovely country, rather like Iran was such a beautiful country. And it continues to be, quite frankly. But look at it. Most of these people do not walk around like this. I can sit on a bus right now, or a train, and look at everybody in the underground train station, carriage. And people are either reading the newspaper or the metro, or they're like this. Nobody talks to one another anymore. Why not? Because we don't, do we? We live in this bubble world. And don't touch me, like they say in America. In America, if you touch somebody, you are committing an assault, and you can be sued. The judge say, did he lay or she lay her hands on you? Yes. Well, you can't do that. Why not? What a mamby-pamby system it is. Yet they shoot each other with regularity. They'll put a cap in your ass so fast, depending on where you go. But at least he didn't touch me. He might have shot me, but he didn't touch me. When you see cars driving down New York with badges on the back saying, hit me, I need the money. You see, the only people getting rich in America are the lawyers. Oh, for sure. Or if you happen to be an investor in a local prison. Yes, prisons are privately owned in America, unless they're state penitentiaries. But there's an incentive to keep those rooms full. They don't want empty prisons, thanks very much. Because an empty prison means no income for the investor. Keep those prisons rolling. And they're building and building. What they haven't told the people of America, and what the British government haven't told the British people either, is our country and its landmass and assets are being stripped and sold off to foreign entities like China And many, many, many square kilometers in America belong to China. And what they're going to do is they're going to put a fence around the lot and ban the Americans' entrance to that area. And then they'll buy another chunk half the size of Texas and do it again. And that is another invasion. It's just a different way. And we haven't got away lightly in Britain. There are green belts in this country you simply cannot get planning permission. I live on a green belt, and my neighbour applied for a slight extension to his house, a little one. No, not a chance. But you can go down if the government want to do something. Oh, they can. They can knock down such fantastic historical buildings. Instead of repairing them and making them back to their former glory, which will cost a third of the price, they'll put up a shard, what they call a glass office block or something. You think, God, it looks like crap. Virgin Media have just put a big building up near where I live. And you look at it and it looks like half-built Tower of Babel, coated in glass. And I just think, what an eyesore. Look at Dubai if you want an example of what we've got coming our way. I would much, much rather live in bricks. Look at the wonderful, wonderful architecture. It's being wiped off, but only kept by those like the Queenie and her gang and the ultra-wealthy who can live in such country mansions and estates. As for the rest of us plebs, we will be eventually corralled into nothing more exciting or bigger than a container off the back of a lorry. That is our allowance. That is our lot in life. It's coming our way. And they will stack it up 3 by 2. And this is what you've got. And there'll be communal cooking facilities. All you're going to have is a little box like a dog kennel to go back and sleep and wake up in. Because they don't want you at home. They want you out there working, being slaves. This is what it's coming for. And the millennials can't see it coming. I can. I'm sure you can. And we don't have a friend called Jesus. There is no imaginary friend up there. There's no one up there watching our every move or hearing our prayers. Because if there was such a wonderful being looking after us, which all parents should, and the Lord God made us all, where's he gone? Why isn't he looking after us? Why do bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people? It isn't rocket science to figure out who's running the show, folks. And it isn't good. Well, not in my lunchtime is anything going to happen dramatically to make it better. I can just see it getting continuously worse. And they say, oh, yes, well, you know, we're coming to the age of Aquarius. Well, so what? It's just going to be more of the same shit. And this is why I'm saying and forecasting, like many other people, that we've all been deceived. We're like a donkey walking along with a carrot being held in front of us. Not yet, you can have a rest in a minute, keep walking. And they dangle this carrot and not until you retire, not until you retire. 60, then it becomes, well, 55, then it becomes 60, then it becomes 65, and now it's close on to 70. They want to squeeze every last bit of energy out of us, don't they? Every tax-paying unit is being wrung. Not many people can afford to retire now. That's if there's a pension fund for them to draw from and the government haven't stolen it. I'll say again. We slept beneath the moon and basked beneath the sun. We live a life of gonna do, and we die with nothing done. And you can apply that to everyone living on this planet. We're all gonna do's, aren't we? We're all gonna do's and we're gonna haves. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. It's like that cup you used to buy, on a little saying on it. I'll do it when I get around to it. Well, how many times have you heard this? When I get around to it, I'll do it. Well, I want to know what this elusive round to it is. It's really hard to catch. I'm yet to see somebody hold a round to it. Because when they get one, they're going to do something. Because they said when they get around to it, they'll do it. We're just such flippant evaders of... It's not what we've got to look forward to in this country, folks, is, yes, Brexit, but hang on. Brexit has been allowed, if it happens at all, allowed to happen. That's all. Because if the powers to be didn't want us to Brexit, trust me, folks, we wouldn't be Brexiting. So it begs the question, because we have to be seen as being a little bit renegade. We're the bad boys, aren't we? You know what I mean, John? Yeah. In it, though. America, bad boys. Britain, bad boys. Well, same. Yeah. We're the bad boys. You see, every A needs a B, doesn't it? You can't have a head without a hat, and you can't have a hat without a head. You see, Europe is turning into this monster. And Europe needs another enemy. Oh, that's right. Well, we've been turned into an enemy of Europe, haven't we? And that's been allowed. Don't think that it's the British people that have been voted and have been allowed to do this. There are certain factions in the 1% that like stirring the hornet's nest and maybe a bit renegade, and thought they don't like quite, hang on, right, they didn't sign up for this. There must be good 1%ers somewhere that have really now upset the apple cart. And they're the ones that are probably having a casting vote in certain decisions that you and I will never know what's happening. So, really, in summary, was the education worth it? Was the schooling worth it? Well, we're all in life right now, today, this very second, in life. Right now, we're here because of the information we've believed and took note on, the actions we've taken, the people we associate with, and the decisions we've been made, and the actions we've taken, and the goals we've pursued. That's exactly how you're here now listening to me. Think about it. We cannot keep blaming other people for our station in life. Shakespeare said, if your eye offends you, pull it out. And I'm astonished at listening to people moan, quite frankly, about their situation. My son came back from London the other day. He hasn't been to London very much. Now he's fled the nest, bless him. He came back and he said, I didn't realise London was so bloody busy. It was chaotic. I said, well, there we are. That's what you call a concentration of people. He says, how can people live like that? They're on top of each other. I said that your perception of that, that's your perception. But some people like it. But I said, but my son's called Jack. I said, listen, Jack, I didn't like it and I refused to go and live there, and we moved away into a more sedentary lifestyle because I recognised I couldn't live amongst such chaos. And that's what London is. Chaos. It's a melting pot of multinational. I mean, Brits are a minority, folks, sadly, in London now. It's tribal. 4 corners to that lot in London, and they all are different tribes and different nationalities, and they all hate each other. And there's street wars. Mafia has, you talk about the Cray twin gangs, forget it. Now it's the Muslims versus the Shias versus the Sunnis and others. That's what it's amounting to. Anyway, he came back and he said, I couldn't possibly live in London. And I can't believe people pay such a fortune for the houses to even live in such a shithole. I said, well, the Queenie doesn't live there all the time. And she doesn't live in a shithole, does she? But equally, she didn't pay a penny for it. Got it for nothing, didn't she? Her clan. That's the irritation for me. Yeah. But no, anybody worth their salt now is leaving London in their droves. But I said to him, you have a choice, you see. They chose to live in London. Everything they've done and said and educated themselves towards and applied for and the job there is in London. But they can go and leave London anytime they like. Yeah, but their jobs are in London. It's their fault. And we don't seem to want to take responsibility, do we? Oh, you feel sorry for them in living in London. You do. Don't feel sorry for them. They feel sorry for you, son, living in the sticks, where you can leave your window open at night and hear the birds and the frogs croaking and the birds singing in the morning without the noise and the traffic and the chaos and the pollution coming in your window. You'll have fresh air coming in your window. And it's all free, fresh air. But not in London. You're breathing in a huge percentage of monoxides and poisons. Aeroplanes flying over every couple of minutes. Heathrow, on the flight path for Gatwick, yada, yada, yada. I couldn't possibly live in London. It would kill me. But people love it. Horses for courses. But the point is, I'm born in London. I'm a Cockney in it. I'm in the church bells. I can hear them, the bow bells. Oh, yeah, I'm a Londoner through and through. Turn it in, Gov. These people are dying off. London has dramatically changed. Londonabad, as I call it, is just the start. And people who live in London and complain shouldn't bloody complain. They just turn round and vote with their checkbooks and leave. And the Arabs own and run London. And you can take that to the bank. So, I actually got through to my son eventually, after a long chats. And he actually said, thank God you didn't bring us up in London. I said, but the problem is with the kids in London, they don't know how good it is outside London, because their little world is London. They don't have a need to leave their city. Everything's there. At 3 times the price and 5 times the pollution and 6 times the stress and expense. I can see my GP, if not on the same day I phone for an appointment, but certainly on the next day. There we are, fancy that. And I know there are people in London who have to predict that in 4 weeks' time they're going to have a chest infection. Because they get told, 4 weeks your doctor will see you. I'm really ill now. Yeah, I know, so's everybody else. Get in the queue. That ain't my life. Wholly unacceptable. And we move where we're comfortable, folks, don't we? and I'm as happy as a sandboy where I am, thanks. I don't need many friends. I've got 5 friends in my life. That's it. And plus my family, of course. And I love the peace and quiet. And you can find it if you haven't got it. You just got to look around you. You see, the way to success in summary is this. Look at what 99% of the population are doing and do the opposite. And you will be happy. Because you will have the whip hand, ultimately. Because 99% of the people that you're surrounded by are idiots. And the clever ones are dying off exponentially. Catch you tomorrow, folks. Got a stack to do. InfoWars, it's an old t-shirt. Collector's edition, possibly. Alex Jones, who's he? Well, I understood that David Knight had a massive heart attack a couple of days ago and had to be rushed in for major surgery, bless him. But I like David Knight. He was a good journalist, still is a good journalist. But I thought I'd wear it in a mark of respect for him in it. I used to enjoy InfoWars, but I think that Alex Jones is I think he's lost the plot. He continues to talk about Mueller, even now. Who's Mueller? I forgot, it's been so long. Catch you tomorrow, folks. Dib dib.